Y'all ready to be history?
Get started.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
To the Pro Audio Suite.
These guys are professional. They're motivated.
With Tech to the VO stars. George Whittam, founder of Source Elements. Robert Marshall, international audio engineer. Darren Robbo Robertson. And Global Voice. Andrew Peters, thanks to Tribooth. Austrian Audio, making passion heard. Source Elements. George the Tech Whittam. And Robbo and AP's international demos. To find out more about us, check theproaudiosuite.com.
Line up, ladies!
Here we go.
And welcome to another Pro Audio Suite. Thanks to Tribooth. Don't forget the code TRIPAP200 to get $200 off your Tribooth. And Austrian Audio, making passion heard. A few things you won't hear anymore is like give it a couple of jabs on the throttle and give it some choke. In fact, there's lots of things you won't hear anymore. But
give it a shove down the hill and pop the clutch in second. We'll get that thing running in no time.
That's the one.
I have had to do that a couple of years ago.
Yeah. What about tuning? What about this? Is another one I saw on the post we were talking about before we started recording about tuning a radio, with the old dial. Do you know only 5% now these days of gear has analog controls? The rest is digital.
Well, who has actually dialed the phone recently?
Well, there's another one. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Phone numbers. 71% of people can't even remember their child's school's phone number. Isn't that crazy?
I wouldn't have a clue what my school's phone number was. I remember my first phone number.
Yeah.
It was 2075.
Yeah. Or if you want to talk analog, what about reading an analog clock? 1 in 3 kids can't read an analog clock.
Wow, that's
crazy,
not too bad, actually. I would have thought it'd be worse.
That's mostly in America, right?
I'd say it's in America, yeah, because they were talking about 20 US states don't teach cursive writing anymore and a whole bunch of stuff like that. So probably in the US, but still.
Right. And here, because I know the kids at school, they don't do cursive writing.
Oh, no. Well, we don't. Yeah, right. We don't do cursive writing here, which, I mean, well, that was another one. I can't remember the statistics, but apparently handwriting in general is going downhill, like everybody's typing.
Mine has.
And something that strikes me from that, so that I know from an old podcast that I used to do, is that your brain actually remembers things about 10 times better when you write them by hand than compared to when you type them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's the whole trick with note-taking in school.
Yeah, some of this stuff actually has big consequences for the human race too, it's like, it's quite interesting. But the reason we're talking about this, by the way, dear listener, is because I sort of stumbled across this social media post over the weekend and it started me thinking about stuff in the studio that you'll no longer do, like lacing up a 1/4 or a tape machine in general.
Biasing a tape deck for sure. How do you demagnetize a tape deck?
Cleaning the heads.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
There's no institutional knowledge on this stuff. I mean, if you have an older studio and you need to do some of these things, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a young intern, let alone somebody your own age that can do that stuff.
It's two problems. Number one, people aren't even using the tech for these things that are now gone, like a tape deck. But also the whole remote nature of things, people don't have assistants in the same way. And there's not the same transfer of knowledge. And also more and more jobs are going sort of in-house. For example, ad agencies have an in-house, audio mix room or something, but there's no assistant for that person. And so where does the knowledge get, transferred down generation to generation?
It's interesting too. Like, I mean, even I wonder myself, I can't remember whether it was on this podcast, so apologies if I've mentioned this before, but, like the old drop edit, like the muscle memory to sort of be able to sort of drop it into record, and if you had to have your finger on play at the same time and all that sort of stuff. I often wonder now whether I'd have the muscle memory to do it live if I had to, because you used to literally do it live.
I still do them in Pro Tools. You're talking about a punch-in, right? Drop edit's awesome.
Yeah,
for
drop
punch-in.
edit in. Yeah, and okay, in Pro Tools that's not so bad because you can automate that now. But I'm talking about on analog tape. Back in the days of 1/4 inch where you'd be going, okay, I'm going to drop you in.
Well, the thing is, even on Pro Tools, if you do it manually in Pro Tools, you're like, oh, I messed up. You just roll your edit back. Back in the day, you had to be on, and here's even crazier. Back in the day, a punch-in was not done by the engineer. So in New York, this is such a crazy thing. My friend used to work...
Tape ops.
Yes, a tape op. would be the guy, and the engineer would have to say, okay, on beat 3 on measure 55, we're going to punch. And then the guy running the tape deck, not the guy running the mixer, because it was all unionized and everyone had their own thing. That guy would do the punch.
Well, I wish I had a tape op in the production suite at the radio station, but unfortunately I wasn't that lucky. So I was just that guy. And, you know, it was sort of like go too late and that's okay, but go too early and you're completely fucked.
Yeah. It's funny because, the guy I keep mentioning, Richard Lush, who was the Beatles guy who became an engineer. He was a tape, early days you worked in filing tapes. And then the next thing when you got introduced into the studio, you became a tape op. And I said to him one day, when you were recording the Beatles, because I think he kicked off with Rubber Soul, I think was the first thing he worked on. And he said, I said, did you ever, when you had to punch in, did you ever make a mistake? He said, yeah. I said, how did the guys, the Beatles, react? He went, no, they were cool. They were just like, all right, we'll do it again.
Because they could do it again.
Yeah, we all make mistakes. They didn't get stressed out about it.
I was listening to David Gilmour being interviewed by Rick Beato. If you haven't seen that one yet,
I have seen
definitely
that.
recommend it. And he was showing, they had all this great, they were flying in great pictures and things from Abbey Road because Pink Floyd recorded a lot at Abbey Road. And he's like, in the early days, they were all wearing lab coats. They looked like a bunch of scientists. And it was a very rigid process. And Rick would say, hey, what did you do with mics back then? And David's like, I don't know. I didn't need to care. Right. It was a very compartmentalized process where everybody had a job and a role.
Well, and to get the Fairchild was like a whole check it out process. And that was only for certain sessions. The Fairchild was like a major piece of gear that, wasn't, because it was floating around. It wasn't in the control rooms.
What do you mean by floating around?
Like a floater piece of gear in a studio is a piece of gear that's in a rack and it doesn't live in a particular room.
Well, you can move it from
right, because it's so expensive. You can't have 4 of them or whatever.
But there's also things like Jeff Emmerich, who was another engineer. They used to have measurements between microphone and like kick drums.
You mean just the tape measurements?
Really close. Yeah. And he moved his too close, and they it's like, don't ever do that again.
Right, because they were scared about blowing the microphone or something.
Yeah. Well, there's another one too. I mean, miking up a drum kit. There's a skill. And what about the other one I thought of too is like dialing in a reverb or a delay. Like these days you can just set the tempo. You can set the session tempo in your plug-in and bang, it's done.
How about rehearsing?
Let's go backwards for a quick second though. So just jump back to punch-ins, okay? With punch-ins, and I noticed this with a lot of the artists these days, especially the like semi-pro or amateur artists that I record here and there. Punching in, you all know that the way you get away with a late punch is by having the singer do the line beforehand. So as they're going along with it, if you're late, it's still there.
They sing along with themselves.
Half these kids, they have no idea. And when you try to explain this to them, they're just like, what? Like, I'm going to start there. It's like, no, do everything beforehand. And half of them don't even, like, especially with this like whole freestyle rap thing, they can't even do the same thing twice. Like, they can't even go back and go along with themselves.
Yeah.
It's not written down. It's not notated on sheet music.
But doing commercials, when you had to do a drop-in, you'd read along with your previous read until it dropped. To the point where you could be that good at it, you'd actually phase your own voice.
Correct.
Yeah, I know a couple of voiceover artists who were very good at that. Absolutely.
I could do it, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's how you would get the same pitch, and you would launch from the same place, and it would blend perfectly, because if not, if you drop in cold, you're in the different pitch, and exactly.
And you had that start-up sound energy too. You're sort of like jumped in right as opposed to just naturally flowed into it.
Exactly.
Yes.
This is a lost art on both sides of it. Not just the engineer learning how to hit a punch button, a record button at the right time, but even more so the artist knowing how the session flow goes. Like, all right, I'm going to roll back.
Can we talk about punch-in for a second?
Sure.
We teach voice actors how to edit and do edits and record and do pickups. And punch and roll, it got picked up by somehow and became the term. But is there really, truly a big advantage to the quality of the performance to do a punch and roll versus recording like 5-6 takes and then comping it back together?
Absolutely. It's, first of all, someone who's good at punch-ins will speed the session up because you are basically doing your edit and your punch at the same time.
They're doing your editing for you. That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
But does it improve the performance? I know it's faster, but does it improve the performance?
I kind of feel like
yes,
it does.
I think so.
It improves the consistency because you get a take and the producers are like, oh, that's a great take. And then when you go to cut it in, it doesn't blend.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And then you're doing it again. It drives me crazy because really in voiceover, no one does a punch in anymore. It's always do another take, do 3 in a row,
exactly.
cut it in. No, I didn't like that. Yeah. And then you're like, but if you just did it on the fly, you would know you had it or not right away.
I kind of feel that's because of the digital age too, though. You know, it's sort of like we don't, like, you know, back in the day, you know, like on analog especially, like if I had a voice talent coming in my radio days, right, where I'd be making maybe 20 or 30 commercials a day, I would know Andrew's coming in for a session today at 12 o'clock. So I'd have all my music beds, if they were just straight 30-second rip and reads, I'd have all my music beds lined up on the multitrack. And I'd just get Andrew in and get him to read to them. And I don't know about you, Andrew, but I always felt that the voiceover artist would be appreciative to hear the music in the headphones because then they got a vibe for how they're supposed to read it and that sort of stuff. And that's something that's lost these days.
That's lost too.
Yeah.
Recording with the music is also like half the time people don't want to do that.
Getting direction.
Direction. Yeah, that's going to be a lost art too soon, you know. It's like, and that's feedback I get from doing my voiceovers is people go, oh, I love being directed. And I kind of feel like, fuck, aren't you? Aren't you regularly? It's sort of like, no, obviously not.
No, because everyone's just saying, record it and phone it into me, send me files.
Yeah. So, Robert, when you do a live session with someone, do you do, well, we used to call it drop-in, I think. I can't remember now. It's so long ago.
I'll do that. Yeah, I'll punch it in.
Yeah.
I'll just play it back to them, and then I'll
they read along with it?
They can. For us, it's late.
But you can just type that up later.
We do have a version of Source Connect coming out that will let you read along with it, and everybody will hear it in sync.
Okay.
And you can bring back the true music punch-in. But I will very often tell a talent to read along with it and go. And 3 out of 5 times, they mess it up. They don't know how to do this. And they just don't read along, or they do read along and they go, and then... And it's like, that's not the point. Like read along with it for real, not like, shadow.
But do you think hearing themselves back while they're reading, so they're getting that doubling thing, throws them? Because I kind of feel that's what it is.
It gets them the pitch. That's the pitch.
You're saying it's confusing them, though.
Yes. They don't know how to do it. They don't know.
And why don't they know how to do it? Because they're coaching. The coaches don't coach them on how to do it?
Because no one's made them do it before.
I think it's just practice. I think it's just practice.
Because the coaches teaching them this stuff are not engineers half the time.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is like, I teach a lot of people how to record, and I feel like I need to take it on myself now to really kind of maybe prioritize that method more than I used to. I would always say, well, you could do the dog clicker method, and just record all your pickups later, or you could comp it together later, but maybe I should be a little bit more insistent on, you should really learn how to do a punch in.
Surely for audiobooks.
Yeah. For audiobooks, they should know it. They should know how to do this.
But even on commercial, like a 30-second commercial, is it better that they try to get a top to bottom read?
So the problem with 30-second commercials is this. For audiobooks, it's imperative because then you get your edit on the fly, and there's so much shit to record and do in an audiobook, it really speeds it up. So edit, like punch on the fly. But for TV commercials, the main problem is that the producers have lost the ability to hear it in place, and they all want 3 in a row. And they also all want to break it down too much. The style of recording is like, record the script in full 3 times, then they don't even give a shit. Like, why did we even do that? I guess just to get the talent familiar with the script. And then they immediately go back.
That's the rehearsal?
That's the rehearsal or something, just to be familiar with the script. And then they immediately go into a billion line by lines. Let's do the first line.
Because they're searching for how they want it read. 9 times out of 10, I feel like they don't really know in their head how they want this to sound. They're basically waiting to hear it to go, yes, that's the line I want, or that's the way I want it delivered. I believe that.
I think it's an ADD thing too. They can't focus on the whole script.
Yeah.
They can only see like one line at a time, and they can't like
Get an overall feel.
like if they have an idea for the first line and the actor makes it to the last line of the script, they can't even remember what they thought about the first line.
That's right. What was the first line?
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
I resemble that remark.
But it's so true. I mean, I like even sessions I've done recently, the same thing. They don't seem to remember what the hell was read like 2 lines back.
Yeah. Like literally.
And then it's like, oh, can we, they want to change everything. And it's like, but if I do that, it's not going to match with what we've already done, which you said you liked, so.
And also, what's up with this one? You record it 3 in a row and then immediately it's like, can I hear that back? You just heard it. Like you just heard it like not even 20 seconds ago.
What about you grab a piece of paper and you write some notes, like I do, like I have a paper script or the iPad with the pen and I'll scribble notes as we go. Be prepared.
How's this? This was a session I've mentioned before in a previous show, but it was at the point where the engineer, because I knew that the client had no idea or just couldn't articulate what they wanted. And he said, look, why don't you just get a pen and paper and just write down some notes so we can come back and have a look at what you think.
Yeah. I mean, but going back to this kind of goes with that is like the amount of casting sessions that I sit in, you can sort of see they're not actually listening for the voice. They're actually listening for a delivery. They're listening for the read that they go, that's the read that I want. The actual voice now is secondary.
Yeah. It always has been.
It's not, I liked that voice. It's like, that read. I liked that read.
I think it's always been that way. I've always told people that the thing to get in the audition is read the copy and really understand the copy and deliver. They're not looking for a particular voice. They're looking for an interpretation and a feel.
I think that's changed a bit, Robert. I don't feel like, and I don't want to be one of these, the new school versus old school, because this is not the reason for this comment. This comment is purely based on, just experience. But I feel like 20 years ago when I used to sit at take 2 or something like that, it would be more about the voice. It would be more about, I think he needs to be a bit older. I think he needs to be a bit, or she needs to be blah, blah, blah. Whereas these days it's more based on the read. That's my vibe.
I'll give you my interpret that. I think that the age has everything to do with the read. The way Sage talks is completely different than the way I talk.
Oh yeah, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Even in her use of up inflections and the way it's just like, I don't know. I'm going to say it.
And it's so, talking of that, it's so interesting how everything has changed, because I think the first time I went across to America and sat down in the studio in New York, like being an Australian was like, ooh, hello. No, it's like, a performing monkey. Let's check it out. Where's this alien that just dropped in on an aeroplane? Now I was watching NASCAR, and one of the commentators on NASCAR was Australian. It worked. It was fine, but it was kind of like, oh, that's interesting.
Well, what about the story Matt Cowrick tells about, when he first went to the US and he used to walk into the studio or be on the line and he'd talk in his Australian voice, and then when they got into the read, he'd be into his American character, and they'd be going, hang on, that line there sounds too Aussie, and that's not right. That's not right.
That was Nick. It was Nick Tate.
Well, Nick's probably had the same issues because Matt tells the same story, but then when he walked in and he spoke to the producers in an American voice and never showed his Australian character, went into the booth, it was never had that. Never had any issues. Like, Matt, that's fantastic, man. Thank you so much. 2 or 3 takes and it's done.
And he should walk out going, yeah, cheers, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Good on you, Cobber.
Do the entire thing with a full American, and then last thing as you walk out the door, drop your Aussie.
Yeah, that's mate. Right. Yeah, good on you, mate. Good on you, mate. I'm going to go have a beer now. Got a schooner?
Really funny.
There you go.
So what I find in the sessions, though, is that you get the producers that break it down into practically half sentences sometimes, usually at least a section at a time.
Spoon feeding.
And they get this whole edit that they want, and it sounds cut together. And it's kind of the style, but it sounds cut together. And then, at the end of the session, everyone does the, now that we've done that, do you have an interp that you want to do?
Yeah.
Right. We didn't care about that at the beginning, but now we're going to ask you if you have an opinion on this whole thing and the talent. And then I'll usually jump in there and I'll say, let me play you the edit that we have here and just give us that edit, but naturally instead of. And usually the VO, a good VO talent has a much better audio memory, even though they can't punch in necessarily, or they're not used to punching in. A lot of them, they can hear a take and they know where they went up, where they went down, and they can do that again. And then they can, like blend in or give that tweak or hear that whole record and know I went up there, down there. It is music.
When you have good memory for pitch and rhythm, and then you can just go back to right where that was and match it and
your best voiceovers sometimes are singers, actually.
Andrew hates working with me when we do demos together because I'm one of those directors that go, I'll give them the line. Can you give it to me something like this? And Andrew's
a line reader.
Face. He's got a pet hate of that. Like, what's your line? Readers. What did you say to me once? I'm not a performing monkey or something like that.
Probably.
Shatner is famous for his rant about
Which, by the way, who's your client down in like Huntington Beach area?
Mine?
Yeah. Shit. Who is it? He's been in it for a long time, and
I don't know if I should say his name.
Okay. We won't say his name, but he was telling me that he was the next session after that famous William Shatner.
Oh, his initials are SR, right? You spoke to him recently, yeah.
Yes, and he was like, "I was there, man." I was talking about that. He's like, "I got one better." Like, I'm pretty sure I watched him walk out of the room, and he was demoralized, like completely.
After Shatner dumped on him.
Oh my god!
Literally Shatner on him.
Because he went in the room and the engineer was like, "Oh my god, I've got this one on tape. You wouldn't believe it."
Well, let me drop something for the actor then. So, I have been like teaching ABCs of recording yourself through a voiceover, right? And so I've been telling people, I usually teach in context of commercial because that's what most people are gunning for out of the gate. That's what their first demo is. And so I tell them to record 3 solid takes, top to bottom. You should be able to get through the script 3 times in a row without fumbling and stuff, all that stuff. So what should they do with those 3 takes? Now they've got those 3 takes. What should the actor do with those? Should they listen to all 3, pick the favorite, maybe just de-breath it or do whatever they're going to do?
I think as an actor, it's different when you say, "Can I hear that again?" Because as an actor, when you perform it and then you play it back, it is a different experience. So you don't know.
You got to listen to all 3 top to bottom.
Yeah, you have to listen to it, and you have to, as an actor, if you're at home doing this, you have to be able to step back and hear yourself for the first time after you performed it, and that's a real trick to do.
I think if you want to go a bit deeper though, the thing I find is when people are recording alone is that they lose the feel. I'm really big on feel because it was something that was rammed into me by a guy called Jeff Thomas, who was sort of my
What did Jeff Thomas ram into you?
Yeah, exactly.
He rammed in a lot of stuff that I still use today. Everything needs to have a feel. It needs to make you feel something. And there are times I reckon that when I get sent voiceovers, there's no feeling to it. It's just this cold spewing of the words. Yes, there's some timing to it, and yes, there's all that sort of stuff, but there's no feeling to it. Like if you're reading a commercial, the first question you need to ask yourself is what's the feeling of this? What does it need to feel like to the listener? Right? So when you listen back to those 3 takes, first question should be, does it feel right? Does it feel right for the product, or does it feel right for what it's supposed to be? Then worry about, does it work? Does it do this? Does it need inflection? Blah, blah, blah. Because
if you're talking about like what you're saying, interpretation of a script, if the script's well written, it'll flow really quickly. As soon as you start reading, it's like immediate. You know where you are. And the other thing about a really well written script is you can pick the keywords. It all makes sense. It's got a rhythm to it. You know where the key words are going to be. Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's a skill in itself, though, too. I've discovered that really is a skill in itself. Not being a voiceover artist, but having directed a million sessions, it's always been second nature to me that there are words that need emphasis and others that you don't. Yet some people get them completely asked about, and you think, why are you leaning on that word?
No, it's the wrong word.
Yeah.
The thing about the tone, it's like... And that's part of reading the whole script up front and just setting the tone or getting into the zone. But once they get that, they then start focusing on individual lines. And someone who's seasoned at directing a voice, they will at least go into that first and get a whole bird's eye view, set the tone, and then focus on things. Some of the problem is that it deviates from that point, or you start losing that overall direction. And I think that a good voiceover talent will be able to make it through the entire script many times over and give good stuff. And then you have lots of options and you hear it cohesively and you know you're there quicker. Or if not, I think what's happened is that so many junior writers and directors have seen this done so many times where it's just broken down, like take 2, great, now let's start breaking it down into individual pieces. And the other problem, quite frankly, is really green voice talent that can't freaking make it through a full read.
Depends how long the script is.
A 30-second spot even.
Oh, okay. I think you talk about like long form.
No,
But
I mean, doing a long form one can be a nightmare without a seasoned voiceover. Like the reason why you want to hire a seasoned voiceover for your big, long 20-minute, because if not, you'll never make it through the script with the person who can't read. Like you need whole paragraphs at once with that stuff. It's not as bad as an audiobook, but
I know I hijacked the content or the subject, but I mean, I feel like that's a really strong takeaway. What's a really strong takeaway for the actor in this situation is when they're learning that process is just, should they commit to one of those 3 takes and just clean it up, or should they comp together those 3 takes?
Don't send out anything you're not happy with. If you're not happy with it, don't send it, because nothing leaves my studio unless I'm 100% happy with it, which is difficult given the imposter syndrome that goes on in my head, but
Yeah. If you're recording yourself, I wouldn't get into individual 3 in a row takes unless there's something specifically you're trying to fix. As doing auditions goes, you should be doing so many auditions a day, and you're just going to get bogged down in trying to do every audition, every sentence one at a time. And the other reality is that when they listen to this, they're not going to be listening to it in that much detail yet. So it's broad strokes, and you need to show them that you have an understanding of the script and a unique interpretation. And beyond that, it doesn't matter that you nailed every single word and all that other stuff. It's the broad stroke of, I've got a superior understanding of this script than the next guy or the guy before.
Also, if they listen to the first 10 seconds, then you're probably going to be shortlisted.
Yes, they go through them so fast.
They've gone in 5.
Yeah, they go
you
through
listen
them
to
really
the first
fast.
10 seconds, you're in like Flynn. Absolutely.
And make sure if you have a lead-in, like one of my clients, I was at her studio and her lead-in's, "Hey, fucker," and then she'd start the script, I was like, always make sure you edit that out before you send it in.
Can I give a quick example? Because this is something I've mentioned a couple of times talking to people about their demos, is in a casting session at a major agency, right? A couple of them that I work for, if you do a casting session, it goes a bit like this, right? Because I'm the monkey that sort of plays all the
Andrew's
takes
not the
that have been
monkey,
sent.
but you are.
Yeah, and so it's sort of like, so I'm sitting there at the front of the room and I'm sitting behind Pro Tools and I've got them all lined up, and then there's, the client and the creatives and the producer and everybody else sitting at the back of the room. It's like, okay, Robbo, let's go. You hit play. Nah, next. Nah, next.
Yep.
Maybe. Nah, next.
No.
Next.
No.
Oh, hang
no.
on. Just, No. Yep. Good. Yep. Nah, next. It's that quick.
It
It's
is that
just
quick.
get
I've
through
never
it.
had to play them back for people, but I've been in plenty of sessions where I'm doing sound design and mix, and the producer's like, we've got all 78, 80, 100, 1,000 auditions. It's been 3 days. We have to make a decision now. Can you please? And the guy's like, oh, man, I don't want to do this. And then they log into the website and they just start going like click. And all you hear is like, today on. And they just like start ripping through them so fast.
Wow.
No one has a chance. I'm telling you, it's the first 3 to 5 words and they are playing the next one.
Yeah.
Because they don't
first
like,
thing they
because they don't like doing this.
They hate it, and the first thing they're listening for is like a tone. They're just going for a tone. Okay, well, yeah, I like that tone. Can you play some more or shortlist that one?
Sounds like you're picking the patches on the synthesizer. Ding, dong, dong,
Yes,
ding,
it's like
ding,
that.
ding,
It's very
ding,
much
dong,
like that.
I like that one. That one. Dong, 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 dong. That's the one.
Or
is
like we talked
totally
about a
that.
minute ago, dialing in a reverb or something. It's like, no, that's not right yet. Or the delay's not sitting properly, you know, or whatever. It's just bang, 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 bang. Decision, decision, decision.
Yeah.
It's like a keyboard. You just work your way up a keyboard until you hit a note.
Until you hit the
Something
right
goes,
key.
I like that.
Yeah, that's
note.
the note I like. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
George, it is completely like that. And it's so sad. And the reason why I say that is because I know that probably each one of those auditions, someone spent somewhere between at least 5 minutes and an hour on it.
5 to an hour, yeah.
Which
And
is the reason, Andrew, that I always said to you, I don't understand why people slate their demos. You know,
Yeah,
people
just
go,
waste
hi,
it.
I'm such
Yeah.
and such. It's like, nah, you're
Well-
gone by now, buddy. You're long gone. They haven't even got that far.
You're told to. Like, it depends on the audition. Some say slate at the top of the read, and some say don't.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking demos here, not auditions. They're demos because sometimes that's all that gets thrown into the mix at these agencies. And so, you know, 90% of them start with a spot where others go, hi, I'm such and such. And it's like they get through hi, I'm, and it's like, next.
Next, I hate that guy. What a dork.
Exactly.
Which brings it down to another thing, which is a lot of the time, all these auditions, but when the audition goes badly or they hired somebody and they didn't like them, it is right back to the guy that I know that's done it a million times. It's always never failed. The Andrew, whoever it is.
And then on the phone straight away, yeah.
Yeah. Are you available right now? Holy
Right now?
shit. We're in session. We just found out that this guy can't read, or that whatever it is, that he over-doctored.
I had one of those years ago it was a Jaguar commercial, and I got a call saying, how quickly can you get here?
Right.
Because the guy had a tantrum in the booth because he couldn't get the read right, and he had a tantrum, and they went, okay, thanks, that was good. See you.
See you later. Well, I had one not long ago, and I won't even say the sex. This person's name is now a running joke at the agency. So, and you'll understand why that matters in a minute when I tell this story. Is like we got them in based on their demo to do a read that was on their demo. That it was the exact read. It was like
demo.
literally
They
the
couldn't do
brief
their own
was, you know, that read on your demo. We want that. They couldn't do it. Right for an hour. They paid for an hour, so we kept them there for an hour. Couldn't get it. They walked out the door. This is a major international agent. That person will never work at that agency again, and their name is now actually a joke. It was how was your session? It was kind of a Jonathan, and Jonathan's not the person's name, but it was a bit of a Jonathan. It's now a joke at the agency. They've burnt themselves forever, you know, at this agency, and it's like, and those people will not just stay at that agency. They'll move on, of course. They'll move to other agencies,
And they do.
Yeah, and it's like, don't do it. You know,
Don't
please
a lot of
do
agents
it.
use a slate of another sex? So it would be a female slating Andrew's demo. Isn't that something that's done too?
I'll tell you what I did do years ago. I got Jim from Lotus. I got him to do the slate on my demo.
Yeah.
Which is really funny because it'd be like, hi, this is Andrew Peters' demo. And then I start reading. So they're going, what?
Well, you could do one. I could give you one. I could go, this is Andrew Peters' voice demo. Take one.
It should just be AI. You should just use AI to slate it.
Yeah. There you go. That'd throw them.
Some robotic voice.
But George, going back to like, what should a voice talent know to do and learn how to do? They should definitely learn how to do a punch and roll and read along with themselves and catch onto that previous read and follow it and shadow it tightly and then keep on going from some point onward. They should learn how to do that. They should learn how to listen to a read and give it back exactly the same on 1 or 2 listens. That's a huge, huge skill a voice talent needs.
Rhythm,
Number
pitch,
3.
energy.
Yep. And then the
Everything.
last thing that voice talent needs to know how to do is when they're asked for something different, give me something different.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know the funniest thing, and I won't obviously mention who this was, but someone came here during COVID to do a session down
It was
the line,
Jonathan,
and it
wasn't
was
it?
one of those.
It was Jonathan.
Yeah, Jonathan. Yeah, that's just
Fucking Jonathan bloke. Jesus Christ. How's he get all this work?
Jonathan's lovely. Jonathan's a lovely lady. And it was like, can you give me 3 in a row? And it was 3 exactly the same.
All the time happens.
Well, that's
That
not
happens.
unusual.
I don't think you actually understand what they meant. Like 3 in a row, like 3
Different ones, yes.
not
Right.
3 exactly the
And,
same.
and that's excusable maybe the first time, and you're like, no, give me a variety, give me this or that.
Learn from that. Yeah, exactly.
Is this the same? Do we call this an ABC read, Robert? We call it ABC.
Yeah, give me
Yeah,
three
you
in a
do,
row. Usually it's 3 in a row or ABC.
ABC.
And there's another subtlety to this because we want 3 different ones, but we don't want one like this and one like this and one like that. Like it's got to be
Right, they're not characters.
3 in the zone, but like and I can tell that some actors. This is the other funny one. Some actors, when they're asked to do 3 in a row, they do all 3 exactly the same in the different way. 1 up, 1 flat, 1 down.
Oh, different tones.
3 in a row again.
right.
1 up,
Yeah,
1
yeah.
flat, 1 down. Every
Yeah.
time they're asked for a 3 in a row, it's like that's what they were taught
A
to do.
formula. Yeah, it's just a formulaic thing. Yeah.
Which when you get towards the end of a session, when that line normally comes out, you know, it's sort of like, okay, well, we think we're about right, but can you just give us three in a row?
That's just another version of please give it to me differently. Like now I've asked you for 3 takes,
that's right.
and now I've just gotten 3 of the same.
We've
up,
established
flat,
a
down.
tone, we've established a cadence. Now, can you give us, you know, some variation in there that we can play with? That's right, absolutely. Yeah.
It's a
Pretty
very subtle
standard
thing because it's
question.
like you want to be in the pocket, but you got to be different. And it is. We're not crazy. Like I know when I hear the same thing twice again. I know when I hear something that I could use that take or the other take, and the clients are like, give me C from this one and D from that one and B from the other one, and then you hear it and whatever, and you know that like B and D are interchangeable. I could edit B or D in there, and the clients won't actually know which one it was.
I think you said a really great thing earlier, which was even if you comp it together and now you have a performance, now you have the guide
flow.
track.
Yes.
So
yes.
you make your own guide track. You can comp together your takes. That's
Make it
your
natural.
guide track. Now read that.
Now
Make it natural.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
not a bad one.
Because
Yeah.
you as a performer will do a far, far better edit if you don't edit.
Yes,
It's always the way to do it. Like if
Perform
we
it.
have time at the end of the session, I always ask for that, and a lot of the times like, oh, that's really good because it's got all the little nuances. If the
It's
talent
like you
is
did your own
good-
demo. It's like you
if the
did a
talent's good
demo
at
of what
listening
you
to
wanted.
something, yeah,
And then you use the demo as a guide track to then guide you on the performance. That's
but
an
it takes
interesting
that
hack.
skill of being able to listen to something and give it right back to you. Like you got to be really good at parroting something, and then you can do
And
that.
also, it's about memory as well. Like you remember during the session that they liked that line read X, that line read this way. And if you can remember some of that stuff, when you give them one take at the end, then all the good bits they want should pretty well be there.
That's where that
Right,
pencil
right.
comes in.
Andrew, do you have your own shorthand?
Yeah.
Do you have your own shorthand, like up on a phrase, down on a phrase, flat? Do you have like your own way of noting how to read the script?
Look at them. There's the pencil. Look. Yeah.
Are you asking me? Because I don't have a clue.
No, I'm sorry, Andrew.
me.
Andrew,
Yeah,
do
Andrew,
you have your own shorthand? Like if you make an arrow up, that means up inflection at the end, or down inflection, or this means more energy here.
If it's going to be a long session, then I'll print out the script. If it's not, I'm just using an iPad. But I have things like if they say things like, and this was stuff I nicked. And in fact, I was doing a session with this guy last week, and he gave me another quirky little bit of direction. And I said, Paul, you always give me the quirkiest direction, but I always hang on to them because they work. I remember doing a session years ago with him, and I kept hitting the same word. And he goes, no. He said, look, I'll tell you what to do. Can you cross and out? And can you write it upside down? Oh, okay. And it tricks your brain because your brain gets to that word and it's like, what the fuck's that? And it just makes you reboot. And it works every time.
That's an
Fascinating.
interesting one.
But it's on a word that he doesn't like the way it's being read. Is that what it is?
It's if I get into a rhythm where I'm hitting the wrong thing.
Yeah, he was
Oh,
doing
I
it
see.
every
Same
You're
time.
time
too,
every-
you're
yeah,
too
same thing every
rhythmically,
time.
you're too locked into this tempo and rhythm.
Yeah.
I need to put a little thing that's going to make you trip for a sec. And then-
So Andrew,
Yeah.
you're reading it every time.
Yeah.
See, I think a lot of voice talent, they memorize the script after a couple takes.
Oh, no,
wonder.
I don't memorize scripts. I've got no memory anyway.
I wonder.
I'm like an old computer. I'm fucked. I should be just holding the door open.
That's funny because I find that I like it. I can tell when actors are reading it, and it's better when they're not reading and when they're saying it from memory. The performance is always much better. You can tell when someone's reading. It's almost like from a audio point of view, you can see their eyeballs going back and forth.
You're probably right for a less experienced actor for sure. Like someone that has a lot less experience reading off the page convincingly, for them, that's a really, really good trick, is to memorize the script. Get them off the page.
I think it's important to make it natural. Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is when, years ago when I used to do like some on-camera acting and stuff, well, you had to learn the script because you can't stand there on camera with a fucking script when you're in the middle of a drama. But it was much easier to learn the script and then deliver it because, like you said, it's much more natural because you're not reading anything. You're just saying the words in a conversation. When you're doing a drama and you have a script that you're reading from, it's so much more difficult.
Yes. Yeah, because you're reading and acting at the same time.
Yeah, and they don't go together very well.
Right. I also, this drives me crazy when I'm doing industrials and they have the talking head person who's like standing on a green screen reading stuff, and they're just like their eyes are moving.
Yeah, the eyes are moving.
I fucking hate that. It's like, look me in the eye and tell me your message. Don't, like, I'm not a freaking page.
But there's so many famous actors, like, historically, and we talk about like big actors from years gone by who could never memorize a script, and they'd have the other actor with the script pinned to their chest or something, or someone with pinned on their back, it's like, because they couldn't remember the script. And they just read off the guy's coat,
But they sure are pretty.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, there's that. But I'm thinking of a couple of male actors.
that doesn't work in the sex scene. You can bleep that one out, Robbo.
That's where lipstick comes in handy.
You don't write a lot of sex scenes, do you?
No, I don't. You're right.
And he doesn't have a lot of sex scenes, though. Based on that as well.
Well, that was fun. Is it over?
The Pro Audio Suite, with thanks to Tribooth and Austrian Audio. Recorded using Source Connect. Edited by Andrew Peters and mixed by Robbo. Got your own audio issues? Just ask Robbo.com. Tech support from George the Tech Whittam. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and join in the conversation on our Facebook group. To leave a comment, suggest a topic, or just say g'day, drop us a note at our website, proaudiosuite.com.